Good evening. When I was a little boy, up through about the sixth grade, my favorite thing in the world to do was play with my other neighborhood buddies and play ball. And we played football, basketball, and baseball, no telling how many yards we wore out. And I was fortunate to grow up in neighborhoods with a bunch of little guys, and it was the most fun thing in the world to do. I found out when I got into seventh grade, though, that things changed. I was real excited about going out for seventh grade football, and it didn't take very long to figure out it wasn't as much fun in the seventh grade as it was in elementary school. Is Coach Ray here tonight? Coach Ray was our main coach, and we loved Coach Ray. And I'm going to tell you a few negative things about my experiences, but that's no reflection on Coach Ray. We loved him, and he was a great guy. But he had to take 50 little mama's boys and turn them into football players, and he had to be tough to do that. My best analogy for me going into seventh grade sports was to think about Gomer Pyle going into the Marines. Do you remember how he never really got it? He just didn't get it. And I was like that in the seventh grade. I just didn't get it. I kept thinking that after ball practice, the coach would take us and we'd get ice cream. You know, and it just didn't work that way in junior high school. It was different. The first thing that we did was leg raisers early in the morning. 50 of us would lay on our back, and he'd have us put our hands behind our head and extend our legs straight out and lift our feet up 6 inches off the ground and just hold it there. And I thought, this isn't bad at all. And it wasn't, for the first 30 seconds. And then those cleats started feeling like they weighed about 50 pounds apiece. And I remember my stomach muscles started cramping up. And he said, now I want you to make fists and beat your stomach like it was a drum. So there were all of us out there, beating our stomachs. And he said, I want to hear you. And you remember what I said about Gomer Pyle? I thought he meant he wanted us to scream. What he meant was he just wanted to hear us beat our stomachs with our fists. And I let out a big old war whoop. And I had my eyes closed. I didn't realize I was the only kid out there in the field doing that. So for about 30 seconds, I screamed and yelled. And I felt a foot nudge my ribs. And I opened my eyes and looked, and it was Coach Ray. And he was bent over me, and his veins in his neck were bulging just a little bit. And I'll never forget what he said to me. He leaned down and he said, shut up. So that was my introduction to seventh grade football. The other favorite drill that they had was called one-on-one tackling drill. And they'd line 25 up on one side and 25 on the other. And the first two guys that faced each other, one of them took the ball and the other's job was to tackle him. And you didn't run around, you didn't fake the other guy out, you ran straight at him because it was a drill to decide how tough you were. And so you'd always count, you're fifth in line, who's the fifth guy in line over there, what's going to happen? I found a report card of mine not long ago from the seventh grade. I was 4 feet 10 inches tall and I weighed 72 pounds. And I would look and count over there, and invariably the same guy came to the front of the line when I got to the front of the line. I would be facing Thomas Tolliver. Larry, do you remember Thomas? Thomas claimed to be 13 years old. He was 6'2" and he weighed 240 pounds. And he had a full beard. And every time I got up in line with the ball, and I would look over at him, he'd be slobbering, and you could tell he could hardly wait to hit me. And I knew I was in trouble because the first time Coach Ray handed me the ball, and this was there, I heard him turn around and tell the other coaches. He said, hey guys, come watch this. And I knew it was going to be a bad day. Well, I got through that, and I survived seventh grade football. It wasn't real pretty, and I didn't do a very good job, but I got through it and I survived it. And now here's the point of me telling you all this. And it's a little more serious. We all face giants. Now look around this room, and I look at y'all, and a lot of y'all have faced a lot of giants. Health issues, the loss of loved ones way before you should have, loss of jobs, loss of marriages. We've all struggled. And I realized that Thomas Tolliver was the least of the giants that I had to face as I grew up. There were a lot of other things that happened. One of my favorite stories about giants, I learned it when I was about 1 year old, and then as an adult, you hear the story again and you think, that is an unbelievable story. You know what I'm talking about, the story of David and Goliath. Goliath had taunted the people of Israel for a long time, and everybody in the army was scared to go face him until one day David came up. David was probably 17 years old, and he was horrified to hear this man talk about the Lord like he did. And he said, I'll go fight him. And all the soldiers of Israel's army that had been so scared of Goliath were glad to dress him up in Saul's armor and give him his sword and say, go get him. And he said, I can't fight in this stuff. It's too heavy. I can't even move. So he took it all off and he got 5 stones. And he went down in the valley by Goliath. And Goliath basically looked at him and said, are you kidding me? Is this all you got to Saul? And this is what David said. 1 Samuel 17. David said to the Philistine, you come against me with a sword and a spear and a javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defiled. And this day the Lord will deliver you into my hands, and I'll strike you down and cut off your head. This very day I will give the carcasses of the Philistine army to the birds and the wild animals, and the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel. All those who gathered will know that it is not by the sword or the spear that the Lord saves, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give all of you into our hands. Is that powerful? The faith this little boy had. And what did David do? He picked up a rock, slung it at him, and hit him in the forehead, and Goliath fell over dead, and he picked up a sword, and he cut his head off. He did exactly what he said he was going to do. And the Philistines were humbled that day by the Lord of Israel. We have that going for us. We have that same God that David had. We have something else too. Philippians 4 verse 13 says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So we, as Christians, should be able to face any giant with the help of God and Christ and survive. And not just survive, but thrive. That's our lot in life as a Christian. Now, from a religious standpoint, I would say we have Jesus that we can call on through prayer and through Bible study, and God that we know is going to protect us. But from a more everyday, practical state, you know what we have? We have each other. That's what we have. That's, I think, one of the main reasons that Christ established the church, was because he knew we needed to have each other to lean on and to support each other and to edify each other and to encourage each other. So I think my main point of my lesson tonight is this. Every time you face a giant in your life, I want you to know that you can rely on us and count on us to have your back and to take care of you. And we're not going to know about it unless you tell us about it. You need to be able to tell us that you need help. And then we need to be there as your brother and sister and be aware of that and help you. That's what we're here for, is to bear each other's burdens and take care of each other. So I just want to encourage you tonight to feel free to open up and let each other know when you need help. And then us, on the other hand, to help you, to be together, to be brothers and sisters, and to always know that above all else, God is going to take care of us, and we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. We're all running the same race. If you have any need tonight at all, please let us know. Come forward as we stand and sing.